What up, fam? Welcome to another episode of Don't Be Kurt, and today we're going to be talking about this G87 2024 M2. So I'm at my favorite shop, Bimmers R Us Curated here in St. Louis, and my buddy Greg just got his latest toy, let's say. And so one of the things I noticed after looking at it up close next to his F80 M3 is how large it got. Now, this is going to be more of a preview. I'm not going to be driving his new car around, but I was going to take you guys inside, take a look at it, and kind of talk about the dimensions and where BMW is going. And I guess as a lot of people are talking about the looks that are so divisive, is that the right word? Whatever. People are either on board or against it. So anyways, let's go take a quick tour and let's talk about it. And enter the original, the OG. All right, so the G87 M2 versus the original, the old school, the 1M. Now, as I'm walking around this car, for those of you who are keen-eyed might recognize this as the Dynan 1M S3R that hit all the reviews about 10 years ago or so, or actually further back than that. And this is it. This is the original. And part of what I wanted to do here is kind of show dimensionally how far BMW's gone in terms of where they are with the M2 to where they kind of started with the 1M, which was really quick and easy to toss around and stuff like that. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'm talking about the weight, but have not talked much about the dimensions, the actual physical dimensions like length, width, height, all that. So one interesting thing to note is the wheelbase of the two. So the 1M, the E87 1M, had a wheelbase of 172.2 inches versus 108.1 for the G87 M2. So it's not that different in terms of wheelbase. And then overall length, you're looking at 180 inches for the new M2 versus 104.7 for the E87 1M. So from length, it doesn't seem to be too different. Now, width-wise, you know, you're looking at 74.3 inches versus 71, and I was surprised by that because if you look at them, overall, the M2 just looks so much more bigger, just overall, just girthy and stuff like that. But with that, the dimensions aren't that different. I mean, at first, and one of my jokes to myself when I first saw the M2 was it looked like the M2 previous gen went out and got a BBL. So take that joke as you may, but it's what it looks like. It just has a big rear end now. But I guess it's not that much bigger. Just interesting how shapes and contouring really can affect the overall looks of things. Just from the front presence, you can just see that the M2 just, I mean, here we have an F80 over here, and the M2 looks more in line with that size of car. Now, it's supposed to be the entry-level M product in terms of dimensions and stuff like that. It's about F80 size, whereas the 1M here, it felt tossable. It did when back then, it still does. I mean, clearly the car still exists. And of course, this car, stock form, I don't know what the Dynan form of this car is, a 444 horsepower beast. So this little car here, it just felt like something else. I'm not going to talk about the performance or experience of this car because we're still in break-in period and we got about 1,200 miles to go before it gets out. So there'll be a future full review of what the driving dynamics of this car are because I don't think it's fair to kind of judge it right now while it's in break-in phase. So real quick, factoid time. So the M2, the G87 M2 weighs in at 3,814 pounds. The F80 M3 weighs in at 3,562 pounds, and the original 1M was around 3,296 pounds. So kind of supports what I'm saying here. Anyways, back to the video, but I just had to do a little stat check on myself and get the actual facts out there.
That?
Almost. So let's ask a question. Horsepower and torque of the M2.
Horsepower and torque of the M2?
Yeah.
Well, it needs 1,200 mile break-in, and then we'll see.
All right.
Report back.
Fair answer. Fair answer. Fair answer. It shows there's a significant amount of weight has been added. Now, you could say safety features, you could say a lot of things about it, but this does weigh considerably more than its original predecessor, the 1M. Now, there is not a previous gen M2 here, but we're just dealing with what we got here. And the F80 M3 will have to kind of fit in for that role of the old M2 in terms of just demonstrating the spatial difference between them, or weight difference and stuff. Again, looking at the interior of the 1M, very clean, soft touch plastics, you know, Alcantara inserts and stuff like that. It's a very, very polished interior. And also just one that's just to the part that this is purely a mini race car. Sorry for the gongs. Many people really dislike the M2, the G87 when it came out. And looking at the 1M, I kind of get reminded why. It's a much cleaner design that I think is going to last for a while. This M2, I feel like it's going to be dated rather quickly. And we put it back away. So back to the comparison. So when you enter the car, you get all these nice little animations. I know most new cars do this, so I guess it gets gimmicky after a while, but it is what it is. But as you can see in the interior here, compared to the 1M, this is following BMW's current design language. So very much a gigantic screen that's kind of divided into two. You got your M1, M2 buttons on the steering wheel, cruise controls, other stuff. There's nothing here that's anything as groundbreaking. Man, I can't speak. Compared to other BMWs we've seen. So everything in here is pretty much the same. Now, one thing that has some of the purists upset is that while this is a manual, you still have your manual parking brake, which is not a lever, but it's this button. But if you've seen any BMW since about 2018 going forward, this is the interior. Now, what I want to talk about though is the quality. So, you know, as I showed in the 1M, you had a nice Alcantara finish. This does not have that. It's, you know, soft touch plastics and stuff like that. Even this right here, while it's plastic in the 1M, this is a much harder, cheaper feeling plastic. Now, you might be wondering what gives, and it's interesting. This is a $65,000 car, but we kind of have to look at it in the same way that we are looking at the stuff being inflated. And this is an entry-level BMW, and what you do get from a drivetrain is worth it. But the interior quality from what we were getting 15 years ago, or really that was a 2011 or 2012 1M, things have kind of just taken a little bit more of a downturn in terms of quality level. So part of what we see too is a little bit of quality control issues here with this gap here, with this trim piece here, and just some other things here to just show just a little bit less quality as to the build quality of this vehicle. So the part that has people up in arms is this rear end of the M2. I still stand by, and I've said this in another video, that I think it's a little overblown. It doesn't look good in person to me, but of course taste is subjective. But the it's not as foreign looking in person as it appears to be when you're looking at it through picture or video. And I'm sure I'm saying this while recording a video and trying to tell you, yeah guys, it looks good. All right, so the front of the car is interesting. One of the things that's neat is, if you notice, it's got a bottom mounted intercooler. Apparently BMW's got some other designs for airflow on this car. And the front end, to me, I like it as well too. Now, interestingly enough, this kind of, to me, brings it back more to an earlier M car, the E36 M3. So, very interesting that the design choices are kind of like that. Or the design choices took us here, where this resembles more of the past than it does of the future. Or, I mean, resembles more of the distant past than it does of the more recent past. All right, another thing I can talk about without driving is the trunk and other useful things. So the trunk looks about to be the size of, maybe about the same size of the trunk of an E46 3 Series. Looks like you probably fit one bag of golf clubs in here, maybe two. Outside of that, not much to speak home about. Now again, because this is a 2 Series, there's not much to the trunk opening on here. So there's no electronic lift or anything. So like on a lot of newer cars, when you hit your button on your remote or you touch the trunk, you get some sort of opening, but this is pretty much old school, where you got to do all the work. Now, again, it's not the point of this car. Not really luxury features, but in terms of the driving dynamics, which I keep saying we'll talk about later when we can actually drive the car. But that's it, guys. That's a quick look at the M2. Like we were talking about earlier, with Greg saying, we'll come back to this once we get past braking period to kind of give driving experiences, more of a talk about how this thing feels. Because right now in braking period, I don't know how many people experience it. BMW does a pretty interesting job in trying to make sure that you don't go out there and really push the car hard, so it limits a lot of power until you get out of the braking period, which is about 1,200 miles. So at this point, it's December, it's St. Louis, so we'll probably see this car again sometime this spring when we take it out and see what it's really like.